The day of the final presentation arrived with both excitement and tension in the air. Princess Lirelei had worked for weeks preparing her proposal, and Alex had helped her understand how to present it in a way that would make sense to both human and Zephyrian minds. The great assembly hall of the palace had been prepared for this historic moment. On one side sat the Zephyrian Council and the remaining survivors of their species. On the other side, via holographic projection, sat representatives from Earth Command and the crew of the Horizon. This was the first time both species had gathered together for such an important discussion. Alex felt nervous as he watched Princess Lirelei walk to the center of the hall. She moved with confidence now, her posture straight and strong. He could see the weight of responsibility in her eyes. The future of both their peoples depended on what happened in the next few hours. Honored friends from both Earth and Zephyria, the princess began, her voice carrying clearly through the hall. I stand before you today, not as a vessel or a servant, but as a leader who has learned that survival requires more than just preserving the past. It requires building a better future. Elder Zorn shifted uncomfortably in his seat, but he remained silent. I have spent months learning about human society, the princess continued, and I have discovered something amazing. When people work together as equals, when they respect each other's choices and value each other's contributions, they can accomplish things that seemed impossible. She gestured to the holographic displays around the hall, showing images of both Earth and Zephyria. Look at what we have both achieved. Humans have learned to heal damage that we thought was permanent. Zephyrians have survived disasters that would have destroyed most species. Imagine what we could accomplish together. Captain Rodriguez leaned forward from the human side of the assembly. Princess, what exactly are you proposing? I propose a true partnership, Princess Lirelei said firmly. Not one based on servitude or sacrifice, but one based on mutual respect and shared goals. Instead of trying to save my people through ancient traditions that require giving up freedom, I want to save them by creating something new. The hall buzzed with whispered conversations. This was not what anyone had expected to hear. I propose that we establish a joint colony, the princess continued. A place where both humans and Zephyrians can live and work together. Where our children can grow up learning from both cultures. Where survival comes not from desperation, but from cooperation. Elder Zorn stood up slowly. Princess, this is madness. You are abandoning everything our people have ever believed in. No, Princess Lirelei replied calmly. I am evolving what our people believe in. The core of our beliefs has always been about preserving life and protecting our people. I'm simply proposing a new way to do that. But the ancient laws were written for a different time, the princess interrupted. When they were written, we were a strong people living on a healthy world. Now, we are a dying people on a dying world. Perhaps it is time for new laws. Dr. Peterson spoke up from the human delegation. Princess, this sounds like a wonderful idea in theory, but how would it work in practice? How would we handle the differences between our species? By learning from each other, Princess Lirelei replied. Humans have shown me that physical challenges do not determine a person's worth. Zephyrians can teach humans about long-term planning and deep cultural traditions. Together, we can create something better than either of us could achieve alone. Alex watched as the princess answered question after question, her confidence growing with each response. She had clearly thought through every aspect of her proposal. But he could also see the resistance on the faces of some of the council members. What about the bloodline? Asked Elder Zorn. How do you propose to continue? The royal line, without the traditional ceremonies? The same way humans continue their families? Princess Lirelei answered. Through choice, partnership, and love. Not through duty or service. The room fell silent. This was the heart of the matter. Whether the Zephyrians could accept a completely different way of thinking about family and tradition. You speak of choice, Elder Zorn said slowly. But what if you choose wrong? What if this partnership fails? What if the humans abandon us when we are no longer useful to them? Alex felt compelled to speak up. Elder Zorn, if I may address your concerns. Human partnerships are not perfect. We make mistakes, we disagree, we sometimes fail. But we also forgive. We learn, and we try again. That is what makes us stronger. So what guarantee do we have that this partnership will last? Another council member asked. The same guarantee that any relationship has, Princess Lirelei replied. The guarantee that comes from both sides choosing to make it work, day after day, year after year. The debate continued for hours. Slowly, Alex began to see minds changing. Some of the younger Zephyrians spoke up in support of the princess's proposal. A few of the older council members began asking practical questions about how such a partnership might work. Finally, Elder Zorn called for a formal vote. All those in favor of Princess Lirelei's proposal for a joint colony based on partnership, rather than traditional service? Alex held his breath as the votes were counted. It was close, closer than he had hoped. But when the final count was announced, the princess's proposal had won by a narrow margin. The proposal passes, Elder Zorn announced, though his voice carried little enthusiasm. Princess Lirelei, you have your chance to try this new way. The vote was unanimous. Earth Command approved the establishment of a joint colony, with Alex chosen to lead the human delegation. 6 months later, Alex stood on the surface of a new world called Hope. It was a planet that had been terraformed by humans, but was now being transformed into something unique. A world where 2 species could live together as equals. Princess Lirelei stood beside him, watching as the first group of human and Zephyrian families arrived at their new home. Children from both species played together in the settlement's central park, their laughter filling the air with joy. Do you think it will work? The princess asked him. Alex watched as a young human girl helped a Zephyrian boy who had fallen while playing. I think it already is working, he replied. The princess smiled. I never imagined that refusing to be a slave would lead to this, to freedom, to partnership, to hope. That is the power of choice, Alex said. When people are free to choose their own path, they often choose something better than what they were offered. Years, the colony on Hope grew and prospered. The hybrid children born there were healthy and strong, carrying the best traits of both species. But more importantly, they grew up understanding that worth came from who you were, not what you were expected to be. Princess Lirelei, now simply called Lirelei by most people, became the colony's first elected leader, was chosen not because of her royal blood, but because of her wisdom, her compassion, and her ability to bring people together. The title of her story had promised slavery, but the story itself had become about the opposite, about the power of freedom, the importance of choice, and the amazing things that can happen when people refuse to accept limitations placed on them by others. Alex often thought about that first desperate message from a dying princess who believed she had to give up her freedom to save her people. Now he watched that same person leading a thriving community where freedom was the foundation of everything they built. The princess had asked if he would make her his slave. Instead, they had become partners in creating a future where no one needed to be anyone's slave. And in that partnership, both species had found not just survival, but a new way to thrive. As he watched the sunset over their new world, Alex realized that sometimes the most important journeys are not the ones that take you to distant planets, but the ones that help you discover what you are truly capable of becoming. And sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is simply show someone else that they have the right to choose their own destiny. The story that began with desperation and servitude had become a story of hope, partnership, and the endless possibilities that open up when people are free to write their own future. Dr. Maya Rivera had been studying glaciers for 15 years, but she had never seen anything like the strange lights that lit up the sky the night before. She was alone at her research station, high up on the mountain, when the bright streak had crashed somewhere near her weather monitoring equipment. Maya was tough. She had to be. Living alone on a frozen mountain for months at a time wasn't something just anyone could do. She had grown up in the mountains of Peru, where her grandmother had taught her to read the weather like a book. Now, she used that knowledge to study how climate change was affecting the world's glaciers. The morning after the crash, Maya packed her emergency medical kit and headed out to check her equipment. The wind was still strong, but the snow had stopped falling. She followed the trail of disturbed snow and strange debris scattered across the ice. At first she thought it might be a satellite or maybe a small plane. But as she got closer, she could see that the metal was unlike anything she had ever seen. It was smooth and had a purple tint to it, and there were crystal-like fragments everywhere that seemed to glow with their own light. Maya knelt down and picked up one of the crystal pieces. It was warm to the touch, even in the freezing cold. She had studied minerals her whole life, but this was something completely new. The crystal pulsed with a soft blue light that made her think of a heartbeat. She followed the crash trail for about half a mile before she saw something that made her heart stop. There were footprints in the snow, but they weren't human. They were smaller and had a different shape. And there were drops of silver liquid leading away from the wreckage. Maya's scientific mind was racing. Her first thought was that this had to be some kind of military experiment gone wrong. But deep down she knew she was looking at something that would change everything she thought she knew about the world. She followed the trail to a rocky outcropping where the footprints disappeared. Maya called out, but there was no answer. She was about to turn back when she noticed something blue behind the rocks. At first, she thought it was a piece of clothing, but as she got closer, she realized it was something much more incredible. There was a person lying in the snow, but not like any person Maya had ever seen. The being was small and delicate, with skin that had a blue tint to it. She was wearing clothes that looked like they were made for a royal court, not for surviving on a mountain. Long silver hair was spread across the snow like spilled moonlight. Maya's first instinct was to run. This was beyond anything she had ever encountered. But her medical training kicked in, and she could see that the being was in serious trouble. The blue skin was turning gray, and the breathing was shallow and weak. She knelt down beside the unconscious figure and checked for a pulse. The heartbeat was there, but it was different from a human's. It was faster and had a strange rhythm to it. And Maya had no idea what normal vital signs would be for this being, but she knew hypothermia when she saw it. The being's eyes suddenly opened, and Maya found herself looking into the most beautiful violet eyes she had ever seen. They were filled with pain and fear, but also with intelligence. For a moment, neither of them moved. Maya could feel her world changing in that instant. The being tried to sit up, but was too weak. Maya gently pushed her back down and started wrapping her in thermal blankets from her pack. She spoke softly, the way she would to any injured person, even though she had no idea if the being could understand her. "It's okay," Maya said. "Here to help you. You're safe now." The being's eyes widened with surprise. Suddenly, Maya felt something strange in her mind. It wasn't exactly words, but she could sense emotions and images. Fear was the strongest feeling, but there was also gratitude and hope. Maya realized that this being was trying to communicate with her telepathically. The images she was receiving showed a beautiful world with crystal cities and glowing forests. She saw spaceships and a great battle. She understood that this being was running from something dangerous. "You're not from here, are you?" Maya whispered. The being managed to nod weakly. Through the mental connection, Maya sensed that her name was something like Zara, and that she was very important to her people. She was also in great danger, not just from the cold, but from enemies who were looking for her. Maya made a decision that would change both their lives. She carefully lifted Zara in her arms. The alien princess was lighter than she expected, but Maya could feel how cold her body was. They needed to get to the research station quickly. The journey back was difficult. The wind was picking up again, and Maya had to be careful not to slip on the ice while carrying Zara. Every few minutes, she would stop to check on her patient and adjust the blankets. Zara drifted in and out of consciousness during the trip. When she was awake, she would look at Maya with those incredible violet eyes, and Maya would feel waves of gratitude through their mental connection. It was the most amazing thing that had ever happened to her. Halfway back to the station, the weather took a turn for the worse. A blizzard was moving in fast, and Maya knew they wouldn't make it unless they found shelter soon. She spotted a small cave in the rocks and decided to wait out the worst of the storm. Inside the cave, Maya built a small fire and held Zara close to keep her warm. The alien princess was shivering violently, and her skin was getting grayer by the minute. Maya knew that normal human medicine might not work, but she had to try something. She gave Zara small sips of warm water and checked her temperature. Through their mental connection, she could sense that Zara needed something more than just warmth. She needed the crystal energy from her homeworld to survive. Maya looked at the glowing crystal fragment she had picked up earlier. On an impulse, she held it close to Zara's chest. The crystal began to pulse brighter, and she could feel Zara's breathing become stronger. "That's it," Maya whispered. "You need these crystals, don't you?" Zara's eyes opened, and for the first time Maya saw hope in them. Through their connection, she understood that the crystals from the crashed ship were like medicine for Zara's people. Without them, she would die. The blizzard raged outside, but inside the cave, two beings from different worlds were learning to trust each other. Maya held the crystal close to Zara and felt the alien princess's strength slowly returning. Knew that this was just the beginning of the most incredible adventure of her life. As the storm continued, Maya made a promise to herself. And to Zara, she would do everything in her power to help this amazing being survive. Whatever dangers were coming, they would face them together. Maya's research station was small, but warm. She had built it herself over the years, adding extra insulation and backup heating systems. It was her home away from home, filled with scientific equipment, books, and photographs of glaciers from around the world. But now it was about to become something much more important, a sanctuary for a being from another world. She gently placed Zara on the small bed in the corner and covered her with every blanket she could find. The alien princess was still unconscious, but her breathing was getting stronger. Maya kept the crystal fragment close to Zara's chest, and she could see that the blue glow was slowly returning to her skin. For the next 3 days, Maya barely slept. She stayed by Zara's side, monitoring her condition and trying to understand what she needed to recover. Maya had treated frostbite and hypothermia before, but this was completely different. Dealing with a biology she had never seen. On the 4th morning, Zara finally opened her eyes and stayed awake. She looked around the small room with curiosity and wonder. Maya was sitting at her desk, studying one of the crystal fragments under a magnifying glass, making notes in her journal. "Good morning, Maya," said softly, turning around with a smile. "How are you feeling?" Zara tried to sit up, and Maya quickly moved to help her. The alien princess was still weak, but she was much better than when Maya had found her. Through their mental connection, Maya could feel Zara's gratitude washing over her like warm sunlight. Zara pointed to herself and spoke in a melodic language that Maya had never heard before. The words sounded like music, with tones that went up and down like a song. Maya pointed to herself and said, "Maya." Then she pointed to Zara and waited. "Zara," the alien princess said, her voice soft and musical. It was the first word she had spoken that Maya could understand, and it made Maya's heart skip a beat. They were actually communicating. Over the next few hours, they worked together to build a simple way to talk. Zara would think of images and emotions, and Maya would feel them through their telepathic connection. Then Maya would point to objects around the room and say their names. Zara was a quick learner, and soon she was repeating words like water, warm, and safe. Maya discovered that Zara's people were called the Luminians, and they came from a planet filled with crystal cities and glowing forests. Mental images, Maya saw a world more beautiful than anything she had ever imagined. The cities looked like they were made of diamonds and sapphires, reaching up toward twin moons that hung in a purple sky. But the images also showed something terrible. Maya saw dark ships attacking the crystal cities, and she felt Zara's fear and sadness. The Shadow Fleet had destroyed much of her world, and they were looking for something very important, something that only Zara knew about. "You're a princess," Maya said, understanding coming to her through their connection. "And you're the only one who can save your people." Zara nodded, tears forming in her violet eyes. Maya reached out and took her hand. Even though they were from different worlds, Maya could feel the weight of responsibility that Zara carried. She was so young to have such a heavy burden. Maya spent the next week learning everything she could about Zara's condition. The alien princess needed the crystal energy to survive, but the fragments from her crashed ship were scattered across the mountain. Maya had managed to collect a few pieces, but it wasn't enough for Zara to fully recover. Using her knowledge of geology, Maya studied the crystal fragments under her microscope. She ran tests to understand their composition and energy output. The crystals were unlike anything in Earth's periodic table, but Maya noticed they had similarities to some rare minerals found in the mountain. "Maybe I can help," Maya said one evening, showing Zara her research notes. "These crystals have traces of elements that exist here on Earth. If I can find the right combination, I might be able to create a substitute that will help you get stronger." Zara looked at the notes with amazement. Even though she couldn't read Maya's language, she could understand the scientific diagrams and chemical formulas. Through their mental connection, she shared her own knowledge of crystal science, showing Maya how the energy flowed through different types of crystals. Maya had never worked with a telepathic partner before, and it was incredible. Zara could show her exactly what she was thinking, and Maya could explain complex scientific concepts by thinking about them clearly. They were like two halves of the same brilliant mind working together to solve an impossible puzzle. After days of experimentation, Maya finally found a combination of earth minerals that could supplement the alien crystals. She ground them into a fine powder and mixed them with water to create a glowing blue liquid. When Zara drank it, her skin immediately became brighter, and Maya could feel her strength returning. "It works," Maya said excitedly. "You're going to be okay?" With her health improving, Zara began to share more about her world and her people. She showed Maya mental images of Lumenian art, music, and science. The technology was so advanced that it seemed like magic to Maya, but she could understand the scientific principles behind it. Zara was fascinated by Earth and by Maya's life. She had never met anyone who lived alone in such a harsh environment, studying nature for the love of knowledge. On Lumina, everyone lived in the crystal cities, surrounded by others of their kind. The idea of choosing to live in isolation was completely foreign to her. Maya showed Zara photographs of Earth, pictures of oceans, forests, deserts, and cities. She explained how diverse the planet was, with millions of different species and billions of people. Zara was amazed by the variety of life on Earth, so different from her own world of crystal and light. "Your people are brave," Zara said one evening, her English improving every day, "to live on a world with so many dangers and differences. On Lumina, everything is controlled and peaceful. But here, you must adapt and survive." Maya smiled. "That's what makes life interesting, isn't it? The challenges make us stronger." As the days passed, Maya and Zara developed a deep friendship. They would spend hours talking about science, sharing stories about their worlds, and working together to improve the crystal supplement. Maya taught Zara about Earth's weather patterns and geology, while Zara shared the advanced knowledge of her people. Maya had always been comfortable being alone, and now she couldn't imagine life without Zara. The alien princess had brought wonder and purpose to her isolated existence. Zara had found something on this frozen mountain that she had never had in her crystal palace, a true friend who accepted her for who she was, not just because she was royalty. But even as their friendship grew stronger, both women knew that this peaceful time couldn't last forever. Zara's enemies were still out there, searching for her. When they found her, both of their worlds would be in danger. For now, though, they had each other, and they had hope. In the warm glow of the research station, surrounded by the harsh beauty of the mountain, two beings from different worlds had found a connection that transcended the vast distances between the stars. Maya was checking the weather readings on her computer when Zara suddenly grabbed her arm. The alien princess's eyes were wide with terror, and her skin had gone pale blue. Through their mental connection, Maya felt a wave of fear so strong, it made her heart race. "They're coming," Zara whispered, her voice shaking. "The Shadow Fleet. They found me." Maya looked out the window at the clear morning sky. She couldn't see anything unusual, but she had learned to trust Zara's telepathic abilities. The alien princess could sense things that human technology couldn't detect. "How long do we have?" Maya asked, already moving toward her emergency supplies. Zara closed her eyes and concentrated. Maya could feel her reaching out with her mind, searching the space around Earth. 3 of their ships, she said. They're trying to stay hidden, but they're getting closer. Maybe 2 hours before they land. Maya's mind raced. She had been preparing for this moment ever since she learned about Zara's enemies. The research station was isolated, but it wasn't hidden. If the Shadow Fleet was looking for Zara, they would find her easily. We need to get you out of here, Maya said, pulling out her winter gear. I know places on this mountain where they'll never find you. But Zara shook her head. Maya, you don't understand. These aren't just soldiers. They have technology that can track me anywhere on your planet. Running won't work for long. Through their mental connection, Zara showed Maya images of the Shadow Fleet's ships. They were massive, dark vessels that looked like they were made of black metal and shadow. Maya could see weapons that could destroy entire cities in scanning. Equipment that could find a single person hiding anywhere on Earth. Then what do we do? Maya asked, trying to keep the fear out of her voice. Zara stood up and walked to the window. Her recovery over the past weeks had been amazing, but Maya could see that she was still not at full strength. There's only one way to stop them, she said. I have to give them what they want. No, Maya said firmly. We'll find another way. But Zara explained the terrible truth. The Shadow Fleet wasn't just looking for her because she was a princess. They needed her genetic code to unlock the most powerful weapons in the galaxy. With her DNA, they could access the Master Crystal network that controlled the defense systems of dozens of worlds. If they get that power, they won't just destroy Lumina, Zara said. They'll take over every planet in our sector of the galaxy. Billions of people will die. Maya felt sick. She had saved Zara's life, but now she was learning that her friend carried a burden that could affect the fate of entire worlds. There has to be another way, she insisted. Zara took Maya's hands in hers. There is, she said, but it's dangerous, and I'll need your help. Through their mental connection, Zara shared her plan. Her crashed ship still had some of its crystal technology intact. If they could gather enough of the scattered crystals, Zara might be able to access the Master Crystal Network herself. Instead of the Shadow Fleet using her to destroy worlds, she could use her power to protect them. But the crystals are scattered. All over the mountain, Maya said. Some of them fell into deep crevasses. It would take days to collect them all. We don't have days, Zara replied. It may be an hour before they detect the station. Maya made a decision that surprised even herself. Then we better get started. They packed quickly, taking only the most essential supplies. Maya knew the mountain better than anyone, and she had mapped the locations of all the crystal fragments she had seen. But getting to them would be incredibly dangerous, especially with a storm moving in. As they prepared to leave, Maya's radio crackled to life.
Out.
Attention all mountain personnel. Unusual aircraft have been spotted in the area. All civilians should remain indoors, and report any sightings immediately. Maya and Zara looked at each other. The Shadow Fleet was no longer hiding. They left the research station and headed into the brutal cold of the mountain. Maya led the way, using her knowledge of the terrain to find the safest paths. Zara followed, her alien senses alert for any sign of their enemies. The first crystal fragment was easy to reach. It was lodged in a snowbank near the original crash site. But as Maya dug it out, Zara suddenly grabbed her shoulder. Down, Zara hissed. They both dropped to the snow just as a dark shape flew. Overhead, the Shadow Fleet ship was massive, blocking out the sun as it passed. Maya had never seen anything like it. The ship was completely silent, like a predator moving through the sky. It's scanning, Zara whispered. Stay very still. Maya felt a strange tingling sensation as the ship's sensors swept over them. For a moment, she was sure they had been discovered. But the ship continued on, searching other parts of the mountain. How did they not see us? Maya asked. Zara held up the crystal fragment. These crystals can interfere with their sensors, but only if we're very close to them. They spent the next hour moving from crystal to crystal, staying hidden from the searching ships. Maya's mountaineering skills proved invaluable as they climbed down dangerous slopes and crossed unstable ice bridges. Her knowledge of the mountains, hidden caves and overhangs kept them safe from the ships above. But their luck ran out when they reached the largest crystal fragment. It had fallen into a deep crevasse, and getting to it would require all of Maya's climbing expertise. As she rappelled down into the icy canyon, one of the Shadow Fleet ships spotted them. "Maya," Zara shouted. "They found us." The ship descended toward the crevasse, its weapons charging with an ominous humming sound. Maya was still 20 feet from the crystal, hanging from her rope in the middle of the canyon. "I can't reach it," Maya called up to Zara. "The crystal is too far down?" Zara closed her eyes and concentrated. Maya felt her friend's telepathic power reaching out, trying to lift the crystal with her mind. But Zara was still too weak from her crash and recovery. The Shadow Fleet ship was getting closer. Maya could see dark figures moving inside it, preparing to capture them. She made a desperate decision and swung herself toward the crystal, stretching out her arm as far as she could reach. Her fingers just touched the crystal when the ship's tractor beam grabbed her. She felt herself being pulled upward, but she managed to grab the crystal and hold on tight. As she was lifted toward the enemy ship, Maya heard Zara screaming her name. But Maya had a surprise for their enemies. She had spent weeks studying the crystal technology, and she had learned something important. She pulled the pin from one of her climbing flares and jammed it into the crystal. The reaction was immediate. The crystal began to pulse with blinding light, and the ship's systems started to malfunction. The tractor beam failed, and Maya fell back toward the crevasse. But Zara was ready. Using her recovered strength, she caught Maya with her telepathic powers and gently lowered her to safety. The Shadow Fleet ship spun out of control and crashed into the mountainside. Maya and Zara ran from the explosion, carrying their precious crystals with them. They had won this battle, but Maya knew the war was far from over. As they made their way back through the mountain, Maya could see more ships in the distance. The Shadow Fleet had sent reinforcements, and this time they wouldn't be caught off guard. "We need to get to higher ground," Maya said, pointing toward the mountain's peak. "There's a place up there where we can make our stand." Zara nodded, her eyes glowing with determination. "Together," she said. "We'll face them together." They climbed higher into the mountain, carrying the crystals that would determine the fate of countless worlds. Behind them, the Shadow Fleet was preparing for a final assault. But Maya and Zara had something the enemy didn't expect: the power of friendship and the strength that comes from fighting for what's right. The peak of the mountain was a place Maya had visited many times, but never like this. She and Zara climbed through the howling wind, carrying the crystals that could save or destroy entire worlds. Behind them, the Shadow Fleet was closing in, their dark ships rising from the valleys like storm clouds. Maya led them to a flat area near the summit, where ancient glaciers had carved out a natural amphitheater of rock and ice. It was the highest point for miles around, and from here they could see the entire mountain range stretching out below them. "This is it," Maya said, setting down her pack. "If we're going to make a stand, this is the place." Zara arranged the crystals they had collected in a circle on the ground. Even in the bright sunlight, the fragments glowed with their own inner light. Maya could feel the energy radiating from them, making the air itself seem to hum with power. "Are you sure you can do this?" Maya asked, watching as Zara began to connect the crystals with thin wires from her damaged ship. Zara's hands were steady, but Maya could see the fear in her violet eyes. "I've never tried to access the Master Crystal Network from so far away," she admitted, "and I've never done it without the proper equipment. But these crystals have enough power, and with your help, I think we can make it work." The Shadow Fleet ships were getting closer. Maya could see at least 6 of them now, moving in formation toward the peak. They were taking their time, confident that their prey was trapped. "How exactly can I help?" Maya asked. "I'm not telepathic like you." Zara took Maya's hands and looked into her eyes. "You may not be telepathic, but you have something just as powerful. You have knowledge of this planet, and you understand the crystal energy better than anyone. When I connect to the network, I'll need you to help me focus and stay grounded." Maya felt a chill that had nothing to do with the mountain air. "What? Do you mean stay grounded?" The Master Crystal Network contains the thoughts and memories of thousands of Luminians, Zara explained. When I connect to it, I could lose myself in all that information. I need you to keep me anchored to who I am. The first Shadow Fleet ship crested the ridge below them. It was massive, easily 10 times the size of Maya's research station. Weapon. Ports opened along its dark hull, and Maya could see soldiers preparing to land. Here they come, Maya said, grabbing Zara's hand. Are you ready? Zara closed her eyes and placed her hands on the largest crystal. Immediately, the air around them began to shimmer with energy. Maya felt a strange sensation, like electricity. Running through her body, through their mental connection, she could sense Zara reaching out across the vastness of space. The Shadow Fleet ships stopped their advance. Maya could see confusion among the soldiers as their instruments detected the massive energy buildup. They had expected to find a frightened princess hiding on a mountain. Instead, they found someone preparing to access the most powerful technology. In the galaxy, Princess Zara, a voice boomed across the mountain. It was coming from the lead ship, amplified by speakers that made the rocks tremble. You cannot escape us. Surrender now, and we will spare the human. Zara's eyes snapped open. Blazing with anger. Commander Vex, she said, recognizing the voice. I should have known you would lead this mission. Through their connection, Maya saw images of the Shadow Fleet's leader. He was a tall, imposing figure with scars across his face and cold, calculating eyes. He had been the one who destroyed Zara's palace and forced her to flee her home world. You know you cannot win, Vex continued. Your ship is destroyed, your people are defeated, and you are alone on a primitive world. Give us the genetic key, and we will make your death quick. Maya felt rage building inside her. She had spent weeks caring for Zara, listening to her stories, and learning about her gentle, peaceful people. The idea that these monsters wanted to use her friend to destroy innocent worlds made her blood boil. You're wrong about one thing, Maya, shouted back, her voice carrying across the mountain. She's not alone. Vex laughed, a sound like breaking glass. A single human thinks she can stand against the Shadow Fleet. You are even more primitive than we thought. Maya wasn't intimidated. She had survived on this mountain for years, facing blizzards, avalanches, and temperatures that would kill most people. She had learned that sometimes the smallest person in the fight could make the biggest difference. Zara, do it now, Maya said, gripping her friend's hand tighter. I'm with you. Zara nodded and poured all her energy into the crystal connection. The fragments began to glow brighter, and Maya felt herself being pulled into the telepathic network. Suddenly, she was experiencing not just Zara's thoughts, but the collective consciousness of the entire Luminian civilization. It was overwhelming. Maya felt the wisdom of thousands of years, the memories of countless individuals, and the combined knowledge of an entire species. She understood now why Zara had been afraid of losing herself in this vast ocean of information. But Maya held on tight, using her own memories to anchor them both. She thought about her grandmother teaching her to read the weather, about her years of studying glaciers, about the moment she first found Zara in the snow. These human experiences kept them grounded while they navigated the alien network. Together, they found what they were looking for. The Master Crystal Network wasn't just a weapon, it was a defense system designed to protect all intelligent life. With Zara's genetic key and Maya's help in focusing the energy, they could activate shields around any planet in the galaxy. I can see it, Zara whispered, her voice filled with wonder. The network is responding. I can protect not just Lumina, but Earth too. Commander Vex must have realized what was happening because his ship suddenly opened fire. Energy beams lanced toward the mountain peak, but they struck an invisible barrier and dissipated harmlessly. The crystal network was already protecting them. Oh, impossible, Vex snarled. The network requires the royal DNA and the proper activation codes. You cannot access it with primitive crystals. But Zara smiled, and Maya felt her friend's confidence flowing through their connection. You're right, Zara called back. I couldn't do it alone. But I'm not alone. I have something you'll never understand. A true friend. Maya felt the network responding to their combined will. She could sense the defensive shield spreading out from Earth, creating a protective barrier around the entire solar system. More shields were forming around Lumina and dozens of other worlds that the Shadow Fleet had threatened. "This is impossible," Vex raged. "Humans are not capable of interfacing with our technology." "That's where you're wrong," Maya said, feeling power flowing through her that she had never imagined. "We may not have your advanced technology, but we have something better. We have the ability to adapt, to learn, and to work together." Shadow Fleet ships began to retreat as their own weapons were turned against them. The Crystal Network identified them as a threat and began disabling their systems one by one. Within minutes, the mighty fleet was helpless, drifting in space with no power. As the immediate danger passed, Maya and Zara maintained their connection to the network. They could see the entire galaxy spread out before them with safe worlds, glowing like stars in threatened areas, pulsing with warning signals. "We did it," Zara said, tears of joy streaming down her face. "My people are safe. Your people are safe. Billions of lives are protected now." But even as they celebrated, Maya realized that this was just the beginning. The Crystal Network needed constant maintenance and guidance. It needed someone who understood both the technology and the responsibility that came with it. "What happens now?" Maya asked. Zara looked at her friend with gratitude and love. "Oh, we have a choice," she said. "I could return to Lumina and rule my people from the Crystal Throne, or ... Or, Maya prompted. "Or I could stay here with you and help protect both our worlds. The network needs guardians, people who understand its power and won't misuse it." Maya felt her heart racing. The idea of Zara staying on Earth was wonderful, but she knew her friend had duties to her own people. "What about your subjects on Lumina?" Maya asked. "Don't they need their princess?" Zara smiled. "They need their princess to keep them safe. I can do that better from here, working with someone I trust completely." The distance, Maya could see new ships approaching. But these were different from the Shadow Fleet vessels. They were beautiful crystalline ships that sparkled in the sunlight like jewels. "My people's rescue fleet," Zara explained. They received the network activation signal and came to help. The Luminian ships landed gracefully on the mountain. Peak and tall, elegant beings emerged. They all had the same blue-tinged skin and violet eyes as Zara. But Maya could see the relief and joy on their faces when they saw their princess was safe. The leader of the rescue fleet knelt before Zara. "Princess, we are so grateful to find you alive. Your people are ready to welcome you home." Zara helped the man to his feet. "Thank you, Captain Lyra, but I have made a decision. I will divide my time between worlds. Lumina needs its princess, but the galaxy needs guardians for the Crystal Network." She gestured to Maya. "This is Dr. Maya Rivera, the human who saved my life and helped me activate the network. She will be my partner. In protecting both our worlds." Captain Lyra looked at Maya with surprise and respect. "The network.